And so I'm going to invite us all just to close our eyes and just to send love throughout the Sangha. So let's take some deep breaths together. Connect with the beauty of your heart. And sending love throughout this community. Send it to your friends and send it to your teacher. I'll send it back to you. We'll circulate this love among us. So just breathing in and breathing out. Inviting all of the members of the Sangha to be held in love and light and divinity. If anyone is greatly suffering, open your heart and please receive love. Receive this love, receive this support. And as you breathe in and breathe out, I invite you to acknowledge what's happening here as this love is growing. It's waking you up, waking each other up. And I invite you to see this love overwhelming your heart, overwhelming your body, protecting you, and flooding your life with an abundance of love. This love shining out to your friends, to your family, to your home, to your teacher, to your Sangha, to God, to all of life. So take another deep, full breath and open more fully. And give and receive of this love. To give and receive of this love. There's no one here who couldn't use more love. So drink it up. Drink it up, each and every one of you. I know this is a difficult time here on planet Earth. And so I invite you to open your crown a little bit more fully, open your hearts a little bit more fully, and receive this nurturing light. Receive, receive, receive. And let your cup, let your heart overflow with this love. So breathing in and breathing out, softening, smiling, and trusting. Trusting that even if difficulty comes your way, that this greater strength in you, this greater love, will be able to meet whatever it is that life is sending your way. Love, sweet love. So sending a big extra dose of love to Matthew, to Anne, to my daughter, Ani, to Lisa, to Jeremy, to Imani, to Richard, to Kyle, to Andrew, Daniel, to Denny, to Jacob, to Kasha, to Lauren, to Lisa, to Lisa, to Lisa, to Louise, to Matthew Peterson, to Megan, to Robert, to Taylor, to Terry, to Tom, to Tyler. Yes, to Wes, to Matthew, to Tyler again. Yes, love, sweet love. And if you didn't hear your name called, include yourself in the list. We welcome more love in this Sangha, in this life, in this world, to be shared, to be expressed, to be received. And so you can gently open your eyes. Yes, so nice to be with you. And so this week, I'm going to speak about a different spiritual quality. I'm going to do this for, I believe, the next 8 or 9 weeks or so. This week, I'm going to speak about the quality of strength, the spiritual quality of strength. One of the things my teacher used to say to me was that love and strength cannot be separated. Love and strength is the fabric of your nature. And so most people, when we think of strength, we think of egoic strength, and that actually shows how lost we are. We don't actually know what strength is. So when I say the word strength, when I say power, if the first thing that comes to mind is a quality of ego, such as confidence, like false confidence of men or women or individuals with big muscles, this is not really what strength is. Having lots of tattoos and being a tough guy is not really what strength is. Strength is Buddha nature. Buddha nature is this eternal quality of being. That cannot be destroyed by life, that cannot be harmed. It's a fire that cannot be put out. That cannot be put out. Strength is the very thing needed in order to surrender your egoic nature. And with egoic strength, we think that we never surrender. Like that's the truth when we're living in egos. To be strong is to not surrender. To be strong spiritually, to be connected with your strength, means a willingness to surrender to that which is greater. It takes great courage and openness to surrender to that which is greater. And as you begin to wake up and surrender to that which is greater, you realize that which is greater is your nature. That ego thing is not your nature. But that which is greater is your nature. Is your nature. But most of us, we do this psychological thing where as children, we incarnate into this world and we disconnect from the truth. We fully identify with our ego and our personality. We identify with the outside world and think that strength comes through having big muscles or through being connected to a tribe. And we give into tribal thinking. And if you look at our world, if you look at the news media, the mainstream media, it's nothing but a dance of tribal thinking. My tribe is better than your tribe. Is that the heart of it? And if you'll see, all the games that people play online where they attack each other, they gang up and pile on each other. It's tribal thinking. They hide behind their tribe. They hide behind their woke ideology or their liberal ideology, their conservative ideology, their tribal ideology. And to be connected to strength, you have to be connected to true nature. True nature is not a tribe. It's not a tribe. Strength is connected to. It's made of truth. It's made of love. It's made of peace. It's made of unity. It's made of power. It's made of Buddha nature. And we find this quality in the belly, deep in the hara. And it has nothing to do with you asserting your will on another. But it has everything to do with you surrendering to the will of God. And beginning to wake up and realize that this will, that God's will, is your will, is your life, is your path, is your truth. And so again, it takes great courage and willingness to see this. And often, most of us, we do not see this because, again, we're disconnected from strength. And when we're disconnected from strength, we become quite insecure. And when we're insecure, we hold on to whatever we can find. We hold on to egoic defensiveness. We hold on to this shell of ego. And the more you hold on to and identify with the shell of ego, the key word there is shell. Intuitively, you feel insecure because you realize you're holding on to a shell. That your egoic nature, when you look at it closely, clearly, you see at its core, is just basic insecurity. And that's quite a realization. If anyone ever begins to see it, like the core of what I thought, this thing that I was, the core of it is pure insecurity. And that's true of every ego on planet Earth, whether it's someone like, what's his name, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, that big fella. I think he's Samoan or Hawaiian or something, that big movie star guy. The core of his egoic identity is insecurity. The core of Donald Trump, of Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, of our so-called leaders. The core of their personality is insecurity, just as the core of my personality is insecurity, because it's not the truth. It's simply a mask. It's simply a mask. I can remember when I was a young school teacher, my mentor, who I was studying under, teaching under, we taught this class together. It was called Pathfinders. And it was a wonderful class. It was about Jungian psychology. We were teaching this to high school kids. And one of the projects was to make a paper mache mask. And these, teenage boys and girls, they would paint, what their mask was, what their image was. And I can remember when they were done, just, standing in the classroom. It was at nighttime, everyone had gone home. And I would just pick up these masks, and they were so light. And they had all this, face paint on it, what the person wanted to be. It was like, they're high school kids. And, so they'd, paint like, like the face of like a gangster rapper, a movie star, singer, pop star, whatever, football player. And I can remember just walking around, just picking up the masks. And I received this transmission. And on the surface of the mask was this thin layer of paper. It's like a thin veneer of the mask. And I just felt this emptiness, like this hollowness of the mask. And then I just started to see it. To see that the personality of each individual was empty. And yet, of course, because my heart was open, is open, I saw the divinity of each of these kids. And just smiled at the little thin veneer of their personality. And smiled more fully at the depth of their divinity. So strength gives you the power, the clarity to be able to see what's real and what's imagined. And that may sound like a wonderful thing when we're, looking out at life, seeing what's real and what's imagined. But the great question is can you do this with your own self? When you see your thoughts, can you see? Can you know which thoughts are real, which thoughts are the truth, and which are imagined? Which are imagined? Yesterday I was found myself on an airplane and had a really long flight. I had to fly, down to a lower elevation to get some more oxygen. It just feels great to be able to breathe and receive oxygen. I'm just really struggling at my house that's 8,000 feet up a mountain. But when I was on the airplane, I noticed I had some thoughts. So normally it's difficult for me to breathe. And, when you get on an airplane, you're required to wear a mask, which I'm not going to get into politics, any of that, but I can just say when you have COVID, long haul COVID, it's really hard to breathe. If you wear a mask, it's extra hard to breathe. And so here I was on this airplane, for 4 hours, and I had thoughts of just being suffocated because I just couldn't breathe. Couldn't breathe through that mask. And the truth, when you live in the truth, you're able to see, okay, these are just thoughts. These are just feelings. I'm not dying. I am struggling. And when we're connected to strength, when we're connected to power, when we're connected to Buddha nature, we tantrically engage life. It means we see it, we feel it, we experience it without turning away, without repressing the feelings and avoiding them, and without being lost in stories and justifications and arguments, arguments of resistance. Strength is the power to stay with your experience directly. Directly. You know, afterwards, I could laugh at myself. I could laugh at myself. I could laugh at the experience of being human. Saying, yes, that was uncomfortable, truly uncomfortable. But were those thoughts in my head true? That I was actually dying? No, of course not. Of course not. When you're connected to strength, when you're anchored deep in the hara, to this power, it's a piercing clarity, you can laugh at your own self. You can laugh at the craziness of life. The craziness of life. You see that everyone's living in their perspective. And not many people are living in the truth. Another funny experience I had, here I am in Cincinnati right now. And, tonight, or this afternoon, it actually started snowing, and they say they're going to get 1 to 3 inches of snow. And they're shutting down schools. They're putting salt all over the roads. People are clearing all the food off the shelves. Like it's the end of the world. And where I come from, it'll take a good 2 feet of snow to shut things down. A good 2 feet. So we laugh at 1 to 3 inches, but this is the thing about perspective of everyone's ego has its breaking point for what it can handle, where it starts to get really anxious. But when you step back into the hara, you smile at life, you smile at anxiety, you smile at fear, and you step into this greater quality of basic trust. Basic trust, where you trust that life is life. Meaning that life goes on, life is alive. When you live in fear, you think of life as death. When you live in strength, you're connected to the vitality of your being. And you see that your vitality and the vitality of a snowstorm, the vitality of spring, the vitality of that tsunami that went off, that shook the earth yesterday, the vitality of the solar system is one vitality. One vitality. You see that what you are does not end at the edges of your body. What you are doesn't end after a number of years. That what you are goes on and on and on throughout lifetimes. And the only way we know this strength that I'm speaking about is through stepping in the fire and realizing that life doesn't actually burn you. Does it burn your psyche? Sure. Does it burn up the ego? Absolutely. But does life actually burn you? No. 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 No one, no thing actually burns you. This is a strength that cannot be harmed, cannot be betrayed, cannot be hurt, cannot be tarnished, cannot be soiled. And so my question to you is, do you know this strength? Do you know it? Are you connected to this strength? Or are you disconnected from it? You know? And if you are disconnected from it, the great question is, well, why? Like, why? Why is that? Why are you disconnected from this strength? What are you connected to in its place? Or sometimes we have to let go of our own personal will, our fight with life, in order to connect to this strength. This is a great question. What is it that you fight with? What is it that you resist? It's any place where we're arguing with life, egoically. If we look at what's at the root of that, oftentimes there's fear. And fear, the places we are afraid, are the very places we're disconnected from our power. So the question might become, well, then how do I connect to my power? It's through facing this fear. Facing the fear, smiling at it, embracing it, meeting it with love, letting it burn off in our consciousness, and not engaging the story of it. So these are great questions. Do you know yourself? Do you experience yourself as a victim of life? Or an embodiment of life? A victim of life or an embodiment of life? A victim of life or life itself? Life itself. To experience yourself as creative, as dynamic, as empowered. As the very hand of God in your own life. Like, how many of you know yourself to be the hand of God in your own life? To be a force of divinity, a force for good. And so this is what's possible when you get to know this strength that I'm speaking about. And my teacher used to tell me, like, we used to contemplate on, like, you know, who it is that the different masters were or are. And when you feel into a great master being, you experience them as a power, like a force. Sri Aurobindo is a force. Ramana Maharshi is a force. Buddha is a force. Christ is a force. Mata Amaritananda Mai, Abba, is a force of grace, a force of light. These beings are not victims of life. And they're here to show us what's possible when you connect to your strength and your power. And if you want to see what's not possible, just turn on the nightly news. I'll show you stories of failure and defeat. I'll give you the how many people died just today in the hospitals and this and that and everything wrong with the world. And so can you be a force of divinity despite this world, despite your body, despite COVID, despite the lockdowns, despite. Can you be a force of divinity? And it all starts with you loving you. So you don't have to go buy an orange robe just yet. It all starts with you loving you, you embracing you, you meeting you with an absolute love, an absolute kindness, an absolute compassion. And so anyways, I've gone on a lot on this topic. If anyone has a question, please bring it forward. If anyone emailed me a question, please bring it forward in the chat because I didn't bring it. I didn't show up prepared. Okay, let's take a minute here and see what comes forward. Okay, looks like a couple people have raised their hands here. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, let's hear from Richard. Richard, are you here?
Hey.
Hey, hi, Richard. Good to see you.
Hi there. Good to see you too. Hi, everyone. My question today, I had multiple questions. I want to see which one wants to be asked. Oh yeah, the first thing. Craig, I don't know if you saw my post on Facebook, but Fran Bennett died about a week ago.
Oh, really? I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah. For those of you who are familiar, she was a spiritual teacher, trans woman, and was homeless for about the last year of her life. And so I think I'm feeling that, would like to presence that for a moment in the Sangha and just send some love to her as she transitions, as well as to her kind of traveling companion, Opal, who is still with us, but who I'm sure is grieving with a fiercely broken heart right now and is also experiencing homelessness. So yeah, just want to take a moment with that before I ask my question. Yeah. Yeah, it's good to feel her presence here with us.
Yeah. I just lit up with a big smile because Fran came for a quick visit.
Right.
So just really touched. Gosh, I feel bad. I was good friends with Fran for a while there and just lost touch in the last year or two. And gosh, I didn't realize so much pain.
Yeah. Then she had been going through a lot, and I don't know the specific circumstances that led to all of that, but I'm not sure that really matters in the first place. So thank you for taking the time. And interesting. I thought a particular question would come forward out of this, but the one that is, we talked about the personal love of God, or the mother, what have you, last time, and you briefly mentioned God the Father during that talk, and I I have a Christian background, but I've had some trouble connecting with God the Father, even relating to what that is these days, and I would love for you to invoke that into the space, but also just to speak on that, what your experience of that is.
Yeah.
I also think in honor of Fran, given her incredible Christian lineage transmission,
Yeah.
perhaps she'll be with us as you speak about it. Wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Richard. Yeah. So in a sense, God the Father is, what I was speaking about just a moment ago, this strength, this power. And it has a quality of nobility. Like when you feel into God the Father, there's like an uprightness, a vertical, an ascension type of feeling. God the Father is not laying down. God, there's just like a power of like boom, standing up straight. In Zen, we call this the energy of strong back. And it brings forth a quality of fearlessness. Fearlessness. Radical Christ-like openness. Openness that comes with courage, with strength, with might. And so, a different way of thinking of God the Father, and Richard said, I have trouble connecting with that. Well, God the Father isn't always so warm and fuzzy like the Divine Mother. The Divine Mother is warm and sweet, heavenly and holy. God the Father in Zen, or in the realm of Buddhism, is often seen as the night sky. In the world of yoga, this is the space of Shiva, vast, spacious emptiness. Vast, spacious emptiness. The Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. And in this great space, there's room for all of life. And that includes the difficult. And sometimes people pray to God and they don't hear a response. And often that's what God the Father is like. No response. But please keep in mind that God the Father, I can say this as a father, sometimes a father just sits silently, knowing and trusting that the child will get through this. In fact, sometimes God the Father just sits back and watches you step into strength and fail again and fail again and fail again and fail again, and then step forward and discover what true strength is after failing 1,000 times. See, for God the Mother, that's too painful for her. She will run in and pick you up and pull you close to her bosom, put you in her lap, and hold you. I felt the quality of God the Father move through me. I have this little girl, and there's just this, I hate to say, there's this stupid thing that happens when I leave the house. I actually had to leave my family to take care of my own health. When I leave the house, my little girl gets sick, and I'm just like, don't get sick. But I leave and she gets sick, and then my wife is calling me 15 times today. What should I do? I'm so scared. And my wife's crying and there's these tears and she's just holding the little girl. And I just let her know, like, sweetie, it's okay. Little girls get sick. Little kids get sick. And that she's going to be okay. My daughter is strong. She's healthy. She's a great immune system. She'll get through this. She will. She will. And God the Father is the thing that gives you the space to live your life, to make mistakes, and to learn from them and grow. Learn from them and grow. And so many people think that God the Father has a quality of coldness. And it seems that way, just like when you just look at God the Father from the outside. But when you step into this vast space, you see it's alive and dynamic, full of energy, full of force, full of power. It's not cold, empty, and dead. That's one of the things that modern physics is learning about, about space, like the night sky. And they keep coming into contact with this thing called dark matter, like the darkness of space. And it's full of power. It's full of might. It's full of matter, literally. So it has a substance to it, a weight. And so the more you wake up to God the Father, you see it's not just dead emptiness. It's a vast, spacious, all-consuming fire. A fire that cannot be extinguished. And my Lord, is there freedom in this realization? There's freedom beyond the personal. And there's freedom within the personal. There's the freedom to be the personal. So there's all these different types of freedom. Most people think of it as simply freedom, like in the experience of the transcendent. That's just one flavor of God the Father. It actually takes great courage. I use this word, it's not a PC word, great stones. So I heard a British guy talking about stones today. To step into life, step into life. To step into life. Different ways. And you have to have guts. It's like you have guts to step into life. It's really easy to transcend life. And God the Father is willing to play in life, to experience in life, to be killed in life. And then wake up and realize you're not dead in life. God the Father is what fuels the path of truth, desire to know the truth. Yesterday, when I was in the airport, it's so funny where I live in Colorado. I'm just not around very many people. And I know I say this often, but whenever I go out into the world and I see how many people there are, I have this experience of just viewing life, this immense river of humanity, seeing it in a totally impersonal way. Just all these souls, countless souls going this way and that way. It's like a Dr. Seuss book, you know? There's all these different characters. And they're all like exquisitely imperfect and, and just bizarre and weird and this and that, you know, myself included. And sometimes God the Father can just look out at life and just see it as an absolute play. An absolute play. Totally impersonal and completely personal. God the Father sees the vast view. His perspective, seeing the vast view of just life. Seeing the matrix, the patterns, the patterning, the habits, the downloads of just the collective dance of consciousness. And can just laugh at it all. And at the core of this connection is just a deep, overwhelming trust that all is well. Even when it's absolutely not. All is well, even when it's not. All is well, even when it's not. So anyways, I'll leave it at that. Nice to see you, Richard. And gosh, really tragic news about Fran. Thank you for letting me know. I've been really disconnected the last 6-8 months, just dealing with my health, and I just had no idea that Fran was suffering in such a way. Yeah, but Fran came for a visit tonight. I just felt this just an immense joy. It's just not be on planet Earth anymore. And I felt that from a number of souls this last year who've come to visit me, and I say it with a big smile and almost tears in my eyes. This world is not easy. It's just not easy. And sometimes when we go on to heaven, it's just such a relief to be out of this body, out of this form. And and so I just felt that for Fran. It's just such joy to be in the other realms, and so that makes me smile, even though that I'm sure the last year was probably quite painful and tragic. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just was feeling so much love from Fran and sending it back and forth, giving and receiving. Okay. I have to be careful. Sometimes I open up to the other worlds, and they can suck me into them for a while. Okay, let's see if I can do my job here. Wesley, are you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hi, Wes.
Hi, Craig.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Hello to everyone. The volume's okay?
Yeah, it's a little faint, but I can hear you.
Let me see if I can adjust it.
Yeah, it's okay, Wes. I can
It's okay.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me just a second here.
Yeah. Yeah. Take your time.
So I'd like to hear your thoughts, Craig, on sorry, I've got a lot of stuff moving.
Yeah.
I guess if I could make the question succinct for you, it would be something like, I'd like to hear about reconciliation, forgiveness. Yeah, that's the question. I'd like to give just a bit of context, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, so I've been sort of opening doors towards my family again that I've been cut ties with for the past 3 years or so.
Yeah.
And I've been so I've got a lot of anxiety that's coming up around that. And
Yeah.
I up to now I had thought that God's plan was to kind of separate me from them to do some healing, deep healing work. And he's really put me into the trenches, and it's been a pretty brutal
Yeah.
journey, and I've certainly made a lot of mistakes, and that has been true to some extent. I've committed fully to this, and I've done deep healing for sure.
Yeah.
But I kind of thought that I would be out of the trenches, so to speak, before I went back into the family. I didn't ever look at it as being permanent, but I kind of thought, I'm going to get healed first
Yeah.
before I go back in. But that just is not happening. I have to face the facts that, as far as, I don't want to go into the details, but my situation, some of the things that I'm experiencing.
Sure.
Yeah, and that really has not shifted or changed. But so I guess I'm anxious to make it worse for myself, just kind of from a self-centered place. I don't want to fall back into the karma and trance of the family dynamic, but it also just, it could be forever that I have what's going on with me. And yeah, I'm not sure if that, I'm not sure what the question is exactly, but if you could feel into that.
Yeah.
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 Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's a pertinent question for most everyone. Is that we come into this world and we have less than perfect families. I mean, sometimes we have like a disastrous father, mother, or sister, brother, or all of the above. That everyone in our family is a disaster. And we grow up and, of course, we want to just get the heck out of there, get as far away as possible. I mean, as soon as I was 18, I moved 1,500 miles from my family. And, I think most of us have this feeling, like Wes is saying, like it'd be great to go away somewhere and heal fully and then come back as shining Buddhas, being untouched by them, being able to interact with them. But God normally doesn't make it that simple. I know a lot of people have tried that, and I don't think I know anyone who just went away and did tremendous healing work, then came back to their family just a totally different person, and then were untouched or unaffected by the craziness or the karma or the ancestral entanglements that we all experience. And so family is absolutely a challenge. And Wes, my heart is fully with you, my friend. I can relate a little bit to this. I used to do like active reconciliation work with victims and offenders. So there'd be like a victim of a crime in my community. And I'd sit in the room with the offender and the victim and the victim's family, maybe the offender's family. And oh my God, was there just so much heat and fire in that room. And often it would just get so hot, the people's anger through intense emotions. We'd have to stop, press the pause button. People would have to get up, leave the room, go spend 15 minutes outside just walking, blowing off steam, and then coming back. Sometimes we'd have to take a couple-hour break because there's just was too much fire there. It's very intense work. And sometimes it took many, many meetings to come to a place of peace and resolution. And I think many of us have that experience with our family as we go off, we do healing work, and that gives us some strength and some clarity, some compassion for ourselves, even gives us some boundaries of like, okay, I need to make a boundary around father, mother, sister, brother, uncle, aunt, whoever. I need to limit the time that I spend with them. And I need to put a boundary around my own self, around that I don't scream or shout at them, or I don't judge them too harshly, publicly. And when the heat gets too hot, I need to step away. I need to step away. Because when we lose it, we lose touch with our consciousness. We lose touch with our strength. When we lose it, oftentimes it makes us like feel defeated. And so one of the things that I've done in the past is I've just looked at my blood pressure, not with like one of those little meters, but just felt into my blood pressure. If the heat is building, if pressure is building, and I'm with family, I need to leave the room. I need to leave the room. I need to go outside. I need to go for a walk. I need to get out of the house. And when I'm getting out of the house, I'm actively giving the pressure to God. And Lord, you take this, you take this from me, you take this from me, you take this from me. And normally what I'm giving to God is my argument. My argument was with my father. Most of the others, the family I got along with, I guess I have a brother I have a brother now who I love, who won't talk to me. Just really unfortunate because I love him greatly, but I don't have any hard feelings towards him. I don't have hard feelings to anyone in my family. I worked it out through continually just giving the hard feelings to God. In my family, I come from, I've said this often, a long line of alcoholics. So I know that communicating to them, like my family doesn't process, it doesn't receive feedback, doesn't communicate. Like things don't get resolved in a therapeutic way. It's not been my experience. Things get resolved in my family through lots and lots of time. And by that, I mean, 5 years, 10 years, that's how things get resolved. And I've tried, like when I was young, I tried to go and speak to them and talk it out and process, just disaster, absolute disaster. Trying to talk things out. No accountability. People just not hearing or understanding what I was saying, taking it, twisting it, throwing it back on me. It's just like, this is a disaster. This is not going anywhere. And so the way I healed with my family was not through processing at all. I wish it was that way, because I have really good skills at that. I could control that to some degree, or I could steer it and express my needs and all this kind of, healthy psychological stuff. But instead, I did try that. Because I failed so much, I just had to keep giving it to God, giving my reactivity to God, giving me wanting them to be different to God. And then finally, I just started to see them as just people. Just people. There's this person and this person and this person. And they happen to be brother and mother and father and aunt and uncle. And just to see them as people who are on some path. That's not my path. They're on some path. And just to see them as purely as that, they're just some people. And somehow or another, God has connected me to these people. And these people will be in my life, to a greater or lesser degree. It's lesser when you live 1,000 miles from everyone. But to a greater or lesser degree, they're going to be in my life. And so I see them, and they have their thoughts, their judgments, they project them onto me. When I got COVID, I was really surprised at the variety of reactions from my family. Some were intensely angry at me for seeking out medication for treatment of COVID. And so people angry and judged me and this attack. I'm just like, oh my God, I just want to get better. That's all I want. Why are you attacking me? But as soon as I even said that question, why are you attacking me? I realized I was stepping into an illusion. They were attacking me because that's what they do. They're lost in their dream. They're lost in their dream. And when I see them as lost souls, then I'm just like, okay, this is what lost souls do. And so there's a quality of acceptance. So reconciliation for me wasn't any change in their behavior. It was purely through me seeing this is where these individuals are at. This is where they're at. This is their karma. This is their conditioning. This is their projection. This is their anger, their anger toward me. It is actually their fear, like they're deeply afraid and they're deeply suffering. And when I saw that they're deeply afraid and deeply suffering, that it became quite easy to forgive them for their anger. So I saw their anger has nothing to do with me. The way they've treated me in the past had nothing to do with me. When I was a young kid, I was just a real soft kid. So I was an easy target. Just an easy target for anything and everything. I see, it just had nothing to do with me. Like zero. Their harshness, their bitterness, their prejudice. I come from the South, so there was, racism and all kinds of stuff, It was just, I just saw it just purely as their conditioning. It had nothing to do with me. It had nothing to do with the other. It was just their they were stuck in suffering. They're stuck in their worldview through their lack of education and what life gave them at the time. And to forgive humans for being human, that's where I've come to for reconciliation. And again, like I would love, to be able to have a heart-to-heart conversation where I'm inviting someone to grow up, inviting them to hear me, practice nonviolent communication with me, whatever, I don't care, process and do some healing work, but not in this family. Not in this family. But this funny thing happened that I just watched slowly over time, is the more I accepted them and the more I gave myself to my path, I started to see them beginning to grow exponentially, which is really bizarre. Like this transformation of heart from other individuals in my family and people who were attacking me once upon a time, later reaching out to me for support, guidance. It's like, really? Like, really? Really? You're reaching out now after all those years of attacking me? Really? And, even the ones who, haven't reached out for support, who are still bitter, there's times when I see them at some kind of family function and they look at me, and there might be like some subtle layers of bitterness, but I also see them looking at me with respect, with honor, with, I don't know, there's a word here I can't pull out of the air, but it's almost like just like this loving acceptance of me, even though I am so crazy different than the majority of my family. The majority of my family is grew out of just intense poverty in Kentucky. It's just like real bad poverty in Kentucky. Like dirt poor. And they look at me with this love and this camaraderie and this respect. And I just see it occasionally. I see it occasionally. That's one of the things we find in family, is somehow God has hardwired a deep love for each other, even though like sometimes we hate each other's guts. And that's like a silly thing, this deep love, even though sometimes we hate each other's guts. Because the hating is on the surface, but the love is much greater than that. And I don't know if that's in your family, but I'm just going to assume it is, that it's there. And it's that thing that keeps us going back. And I can tell you, it really hurts when you can feel this intuitively, that these people deeply love me. Kin might be like a word for like a kin, like kinfolk, or like there's just this love, like this immense bond, almost like a primal love among family members. And yet we go back and, my God, sometimes they just say the wrong thing, like the complete wrong thing, the absolute wrong thing. And for the psyche in us, for the inner child in us, that is really hard. And I just want to honor it. It's really hard. So I'm not going to like wrap this up in some beautiful spiritual context. In a human way, it's very hard when you feel this love and you go back and then they say the dumbest, meanest, rudest, harshest thing to us. It just hurts. It's just like, God, it's like, damn it. I was just opening to you. And then you just poured ice down my shirt, just like this ice. this coldness, this meanness, this harshness. And it's really confusing for us as human beings. It's really confusing to be human and to get so beat up by people who love us so deeply, but they don't know how to love us. And that's what I come back to again and again with compassion is, it's like, Lord, forgive them. They do not know what they do. It's like, they do not know what they do. And Lord, forgive me because I don't know what I do sometimes. Like, forgive me, Lord, because sometimes I get confused and they get confused and I get confused and they get confused. And sometimes forgiveness is just seeing just the tragedy of being human, how hard it is. How hard it is. Like in my family, the demon was alcoholism and poverty. It's just so hard to grow up with that. And it led, poverty leads to a lot of harshness inside, a lot of inner criticism, a lot of putting one's needs last, a lot of saying like, shut up, get over it, just go to work. Shut up, get over it, ignore your feelings, just go to work. Like that's all we were taught as kids. Just go to work, just go to work. Shut up, get over it, go to work. And here, have a beer and have another, have another. And it's hard in families when there's addiction, when there's lack of education, when we wanted our parents to be good parents, but hell, they didn't have good parents, and the ones before them didn't have good parents. It's a nice compassion and forgiveness is just the recognition that none of these people, none of them had the love they needed. None of them had the love they needed, and that's why they are the way they are. Sometimes compassion is just seeing that none of these people had the love they needed. None of them were parented properly. None of them. I mean, how you go back a couple of generations and we're on World War II, and before that, we're at a generation World War I. It's like, my God, just go back 100 years and there's 2 world wars that our grandparents and their parents lived through. Is just try to parent during a world war. And people like my grandpa, he was in the war. It's like that. Like at the time when many of us went and we're doing meditation retreats and study mindfulness and learning how to be really good, happy, healthy, spiritual egos. Our grandparents were at war. They were in trenches and shooting each other, being bombed, and it's just like, my God, the suffering. And you go back for a couple of generations before that, many of them were on boats coming over on ships and watching their brothers and sisters and cousins and mom or dad die on a boat ride. It's like just the brutality of life. Brutality of life is like, not many people had a real chance. And so you start to see people did the best they could, and sometimes the best they could was really harsh. Really harsh, because that's what our ego does when it's stressed. It just says, shut up, get over it. And it either tries to work hard or space out or distract or go into addiction or whatever. And, so your words were forgiveness and reconciliation. And sometimes it's just this prayer of, forgive them, Lord. Forgive them, Lord. Or help me to forgive them. Help me to forgive them. Help me, God, to forgive my family. So anyways, beautiful question, Wes. My heart's with you, my friend. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Okay, I'm looking at the time. I'm going on and on. Let me see if I can get to, I don't think I've spoken with this person. Matthew Peterson. Matthew, are you here? I just asked that the question is short, clear, and direct. And let's see if I can get through them. You hear Matthew?
Yes, yes. Can you hear me? Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, Matthew. Good to meet you. Where are you from?
Well, currently I'm living in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, Columbus. Okay. I'm just an hour away from you. I'm down in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I thought that was funny when you said that because I'm
Yeah.
experiencing similar snow conditions right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess my question came up earlier, but is tying into or related to some of what you just spoke to. And gosh, it just seems to me at least that there's such extreme polarities, that this experience offers. And, there are these experiences that can be so convincing in the way that we feel like a victim to them. Just like what you spoke of 100 years ago, there are certain causes and conditions that lead to these experiences that are just nightmarish in some way. And that's not to say that there isn't another aspect of truth to them or underneath them or inside them. But just working through, depending on the causes and conditions, it just I just, in my own life, feeling like it's like trying to stop the freight train.
Yeah.
Of working with certain causes and conditions. The momentum is so strong, and again, as you spoke to, these ancestral patterns and collective patterns that we're experiencing. I guess I'm losing my question here. This difference between being a victim of life and embodying life. I guess, if you can just speak to anything that really can help us move through some of these causes and conditions that are just, they're as intense as is possible.
Yeah. Matthew, let me ask you a question. Can you stop a freight train?
No, I wouldn't say so.
No. And so sometimes it's the recognition of that. It's the recognition of that. Like, I can't stop this. I can't stop it. I can't stop it. And so we surrender it into the silence. We surrender it into the silence. This is what we can do. All causes and conditions come and go in this space of silence. This is the recognition. I can't stop. I cannot stop life. I cannot stop the chaos, the wildness, the tragedy. I can't stop it. And so we surrender it into the silence. We just keep giving it back to the silence. And as you do this, you realize, oh, I am the silence. I am the silence. And freight trains, they roll through me. They roll through me. And this is where we begin to realize we are life, not the victim of that train. So you give it over again and again and again. And in the giving over, there's absolute humility. There's trust, there's space. There's a recognition that you are not the doer. The recognition that there's something much greater than the causes and conditions. But as soon as we fight with causes and conditions, we suffer. We suffer. And as we give the causes and conditions over to the silence, realize, oh, I am the silence. I am the silence. The silence is so free, so utterly free. This is just really blew my mind. The silence that we are is so free that I actually allow for the causes and conditions. That really, the recognition of this really turns the ego upside down. When you realize that you are so free, inherently already, your consciousness is so spacious, so utterly free. There's so much room in your consciousness that a freight train can flow through you. If you weren't free, inherently already, if you weren't free inherently already, the train couldn't flow through you. Your consciousness is so free that it allows for chaos. And most people might not see that as beautiful, but I see that as absolutely beautiful. That my consciousness is so free. It has so much space, so much silence. That it allows for life to be life.
Craig, the real conundrum that's coming up for me is,
Yeah.
say I'm a villager and my village is attacked.
Yeah.
And I have no choice but to fight for everything that we have, or it will simply be taken. It's like to have that experience of fighting for something.
Yeah.
And letting the train flow through me, no matter what happens. That's a conundrum.
Yeah.
Because there are things that are so convincing that, what you said about the ego's will, my will, like this personal fight, like when to put down the sword or when to accept the battle is over.
Yeah. When to put it down, when to pick it up. When to put it down, when to pick it up.
It seems like we're fighting for such precious things at times.
Well, this is a I mean, this is a beautiful question. I mean, what this really comes down to is honesty. When we're honest in our heart, we know the fights where we're supposed to get up and yield the sword. And also, when we're honest in our heart, we know when we're supposed to put the damn thing down and just let it go. And just let it go. And let it go. And a hint I'll give you, and this goes back to the first teaching tonight about strength, power. Like when you want to know the truth, when you ask like what the truth is, the truth will come with clarity, it'll come with power, it'll come with directness. It never comes with an argument. The truth is always just like, boom, go this way. The truth is never, should I do this? Yeah, I should do this because of this, and this would be good, and that would be a good another reason. And the truth makes zero arguments. The truth doesn't think things through. And it's not impulsiveness, it's not instinct. There's a power, there's a directness that says this way. And if we're struggling with this is beautiful. This is the point on the path where God is inviting you to really begin to discern what is the truth, what is impulse, what is ego, what is superego. Superego will come with a long argument, a list of whys and shoulds and this and that. And ego comes with pushiness and fight and agenda and emotional fire. Impulse comes with primal urges, different kind of emotion, just like a primal urge. But truth, very quiet. It's very simple. It's very clear. And it's non-negotiable. And you never find truth up in your head thinking. So conundrums happen in our head, but truth happens in our gut. Truth is very simple. Just say, go this way. Truth is like the Nike slogan, just do it. Just do it like this. Doesn't even say that much. It's just like this. This way, this thing, this one. And so, it's funny, I say this, it sounds very stupid, but I'll say, I never think about anything ever. Ever. Like ever. Something like if I'm thinking, I could just immediately go into confusion, like, what is this world of thought? It's so empty. It's so empty. It's so it's like so insecure and empty when you go into thought. As I just feel my belly and boom, that's the way. Doesn't matter if I like it or dislike it. It's just like, this is the way. And so to follow that voice, and sometimes you have to give yourself permission to fail, like just to go out and fail a little bit. And in the failure, you discover, oh, geez, okay, that was my emotional nature. Oh, gosh, that was my super ego. We all know what thought is. Thought's the thing where we stay up all night just thinking things. It's just like, that leads nowhere. We've all done impulse too. It's like, oh, yep, that was the wrong thing to do. Like impulse. But truth. Truth comes with weight. It comes with substance. It comes with force. And it's like, I think tomorrow, right? Tomorrow is Martin Luther King Day. And see, this man, like this fella, he said, I have a dream. If you ask, the politics at the time, this is a terrible idea politically at the time. Like everyone's arguing, fighting, tearing the country apart. He said, I don't care. Like, I have this dream. I'm going forward with this. Got him killed, but still, he went forward with it. He didn't care how it felt. He just went forward. He just went forward and he changed the world. He knew which fight was the right fight. And he could have stayed home and just been a preacher in his local church. But he didn't do that. He listened to his gut. And see, this is what life's inviting for you. No more thinking. Find the deepest truth within you and go forward. And go forward. And if you make a mistake, like, don't worry about it. Life will course correct. Life will. Because the truth makes the truth happen. God makes God happen. If we screw it up the first time, like I screwed it up so many times. And God just kept course correcting. Say, okay, Craig, let's try again. 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 Okay, now you're getting it. Now you're getting it. And so anyways, my friend, you play with this. You play with this. Good to see you. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll say hi to you across the big, dark Ohio sky. And I'll send you some love, my friend. Yeah. Okay. It's getting late in the night. I know there's a couple more people want their questions answered, but I think I've gone past my limit tonight. So much love to each and every one of you. Thanks for your patience with me as I continue to heal and the schedule gets disrupted. I'm going to do my best to keep all the classes on schedule, with the exception of the Facebook group. I'll get back to that when I get back to my home in Colorado. Much love to each and every one of you. Good night, everyone. Goodbye.